Hi, everybody. I'm going to be talking to you today about two of the assignments that a couple of different students have brought it to my attention that they didn't understand. So I thought maybe I could give you just a little bit of heads up about these assignments. So the first one is 6-1. And for that assignment, your screen looks sort of like this. It's in MindTap instead of on paper, but it's asking you to identify the parts of a file arrangement. And so this is the file arrangement over on this side. Okay, so you're supposed to put identify the items on this side. Let's see if we get back in this page and move down on this side. So for A, this is A, and it's pointing here to Bailey, which I think the mistake that the two students that I talked to made was thinking that the illustration on page 124 was the end-all be-all, that the answers to this assignment were only going to be found on that page. So that's not true. You actually have to read the sections on the different types of guides and folders. And that starts on page 123. So 123 starts with guides, goes to primary guides, special guides, and then on page 126 we start with the different types of folders, describing what is a folder and what they're used for. So you actually have to read through all that in order to be able to do this exercise correctly. And I didn't show you the whole thing over here, but if you're doing the exercise, you know that over here on the right, this says C, D, and E. C and D has 3 folders identified, and then E. If you're looking at it, the one thing I will tell you, so I'm giving you one answer here, which is special guide. If you're looking at the illustration on page 124, and you look at special guides, you'll notice that it's pointing, and you actually have to be on that page with me in order to know what I'm talking about here. On page 124, the arrow is pointing to like a little purplish blue line. If you're not paying attention, you think it's pointing to the B, but it's not. It's pointing to that bluish purple line, which has the name Bailey on it. And it is actually a guide. If you'll notice, guides are smaller. They're like little smaller squares, and folders have a long label. Like they're actually, the actual label area is longer. So a guide is just small, and then a folder has a longer, like a tab at the top of the folder. So that's how you would know the difference between a guide and a label visually, but you'd actually have to read their purpose in the chapter in order to know if you're talking about one or not. So notice that it says special guides. It only wants you to put special guide singular in the answer spot. When the second one is B, and you can't see it because I didn't grab it over here far enough, but the second one is the, let me see if I can move this over a little bit so you can see it. Notice B says out. So on your illustration in the book on page 124, it's identifying for you an out guide. And the guide, if you'll notice, is small on the page. It's small. It's not wide like a folder label. But this is not small. This is a folder. So this would be an out folder, not an out guide. So those are the two hints I'm going to give you, is knowing it's a special guide, not guides, out folder, not out guide, and the rest you need to come up with on your own, but you'll be able to do it as you go through both looking at the illustration, but then also reading what it wants. All right, so that's 6-1. Let's move to 6-2. So there was some question about what does it really want. So again, I'm not in MindTap. I'm actually just on a piece of paper here. But if you remember, there's an order to how we prepare or prepare documents or prepare files for getting them ready to store. And some of the different verbs that we use in that process are coding, indexing, cross-referencing, etc. And if you go back in what we've learned in the previous chapters, there is an order to how this is done. So what it's asking you over here is to provide the order, over here to provide the step as being described. I would say do this part first. So again, I've given you one answer. Physically mark the filing segment. This describes coding. Coding is the third step in the order of the process. So all of these represent a step in the process, and one of the words for the process would be describing. This would be describing one of the steps in the process. I hope I've explained it well enough that you'll be able to attack these two assignments and do well on them. All right, good luck. Bye-bye, Hen.